Welcome back to PodX Studio for another deep dive.
Right.
We're ready to jump into some current affairs.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to tailor this one specifically for those of you who are newer to current affairs.
Yeah.
And of course, those of you gearing up for those UPSC exams.
Right.
We've got a really interesting mix today. We've got some political stuff, some pretty exciting tech breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And even a little dash of philosophy just to keep things interesting.
Always good to have a little bit of philosophy.
Right.
So yeah, we're not just going to tell you what happened, but we're going to break it down, like why it matters, you know?
Right.
Especially if you're thinking about a career in the civil services.
Absolutely.
So get ready to connect the dots between these events and that UPSC syllabus.
All right, let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
First stop, we are headed to Manipur,
Oh, Manipur.
where the political scene is, well, let's just say it's a bit of a pressure cooker right now.
It certainly is. The chief minister resigned,
Wow.
which has put the BJP in a very delicate position. They're facing some tough choices here.
Yeah.
The stakes are high.
So for those of us who are maybe still kind of getting a grasp on Indian politics,
Yeah,
can you just walk us through what this resignation actually means?
absolutely.
Like, what are the potential consequences here?
So one possibility is that the BJP tries to form a new government,
Okay.
you know, proving they still have the majority support in the assembly.
Right.
Think of it like a team,
Yeah.
you know, trying to rally after losing their captain.
Okay.
But if they can't pull that off,
Right.
we might be looking at president's rule.
President's rule. That sounds serious.
Yeah, it is.
Can you break that down for us a little bit more?
Absolutely.
What does that actually mean?
Imagine the state government is a ship
Okay.
sailing through some stormy waters.
All right. I'm with you.
President's rule is like sending in the Coast Guard
Oh, okay.
to just temporarily take control, you know, stabilize things.
Gotcha.
So it's a way for the central government to step in. When a state government is unable to function effectively,
I see.
it's a big deal because it essentially puts the state under direct control of the central government
Yep.
for a period of time.
So it's a way to just ensure some stability during a crisis.
Exactly.
Now, what about the state assembly itself?
Yeah.
What role do they play in all this?
Well, the Indian Constitution actually mandates that the state legislature has to meet at least once every 6 months,
Okay.
as stated in Article 174.
So they can't just like postpone things indefinitely?
Yeah, exactly.
There's like a time limit?
There is a ticking clock on all of this.
Oh, okay.
And the governor of the state
Right.
holds a surprising amount of power in this scenario.
Oh, wow.
They can call the legislature back into session,
Okay.
which is known as summoning them.
So many. Okay.
They can also pause the session,
Right.
which is called proroguing.
Proroguing.
And in extreme cases, they can even dissolve the assembly completely,
Wow.
leading to fresh elections.
So the governor is not just a figurehead. They have some serious power to wield,
They do.
especially during a political crisis like this.
Exactly. And for anyone starting for the UPSC, understanding these constitutional provisions, especially Article 174,
Right.
and the powers of the governor is absolutely critical.
So this is one of those areas where real-world events
Yeah,
and your exam syllabus are directly intersecting.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've got this political drama unfolding in Manipur.
Yeah.
Now let's jump to something a little more uplifting.
Oh, okay.
Get this. India has developed its own semiconductor chip.
It's huge.
They're calling it Shakti.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of attention for good reason.
Like, imagine India launching its own rocket into space.
Yeah.
It's that kind of moment for the tech world.
It really is a major development.
So for those of us who aren't tech experts,
Right.
why is this such a big deal?
Think of semiconductor chips as the brains behind all of our electronic devices.
Yeah.
Smartphones, laptops, cars, even refrigerators. Everything relies on them.
Wow.
Until now, India has largely relied on other countries for these chips.
Right.
But Shakti changes the game.
Oh, okay.
It's a symbol of India's growing technological independence.
So it's about more than just having like a cool new gadget.
It is.
It's about strategic autonomy
Yeah,
and self-reliance.
exactly. Shakti reduces India's dependence on foreign tech,
Right.
gives a boost to the Make in India initiative,
Right.
and even strengthens national security.
Wow.
It's a major step towards India becoming a tech powerhouse on the global stage.
So this connects directly to the UPSC syllabus, right?
Absolutely.
This development touches on science and technology, economic growth, and even India's role in international relations.
It's a prime example of how current events can bring those dry textbook concepts to life
Right.
and show how they play out in the real world.
Speaking of real-world implications,
Yeah.
This development ties into the larger conversation about artificial intelligence, or AI.
Yes, AI.
India recently participated in the AI Action Summit, where 57 countries came together to discuss the responsible development of AI.
It was a really important step.
Yeah.
You know, the summit brought together leading nations to start creating global guidelines for AI.
Right.
Because, as you know, AI has the potential to be incredibly beneficial.
Right.
But there are also some big ethical concerns that we need to address.
Okay, so for someone who's just starting to learn about AI,
Yeah.
what are some of those ethical concerns?
Well, one of the big ones is algorithmic bias.
Okay.
Imagine an AI system that's used to make decisions about loan applications
Yep.
or job interviews.
All right.
If that system is trained on biased data,
Yeah.
it could end up discriminating against certain groups of people,
Oh, wow.
even if that's not the intention.
That's scary.
Yeah, it is.
It's like those biases we see in society could be amplified
Right.
and like baked into the technology itself.
Exactly, and that's just one example.
Right.
We also need to think about things like job displacement, the potential for misuse of AI for malicious purposes,
Oh, yeah.
and even the philosophical implications of creating machines that can think for themselves.
So AI is a powerful tool with incredible potential,
It is.
but we need to make sure we're using it responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. And India is playing a key role in advocating for inclusive AI development.
Okay.
Focusing on principles like fairness, transparency, and accountability,
Right.
they want to make sure that AI benefits all of humanity,
Right. Yeah.
not just a select few.
And this is all directly relevant to the UPSC syllabus, which emphasizes themes of international relations, science and technology, and even ethics.
It touches so many different areas.
It really does.
And it shows how interconnected our world is becoming and
Yeah.
how important it is to think critically about these emerging technologies and
Right.
their impact on society.
Now let's shift gears to another global challenge,
Climate change.
climate change.
But this time with like a glimmer of hope.
Okay.
The material we're looking at suggests that India has the potential to lead something called South-South cooperation.
In tackling climate issues, can you explain what that means?
Absolutely. South cooperation refers to the collaboration between developing countries to address common challenges.
Okay.
In this case, climate change.
Right.
Think of India as a bridge,
Okay.
connecting nations across the global south to share knowledge, resources, and strategies to combat climate change together.
I like that analogy.
Yeah,
So it's about countries working together, sharing solutions, and supporting each other,
exactly.
rather than going it alone.
Right.
One of the key aspects of this cooperation is the concept of carbon credits.
Yeah, carbon credits.
Can you explain carbon credits in a way that someone who's still learning about climate change can understand?
Okay, imagine you have a group of friends
Okay.
and you all agree to reduce your candy consumption.
Right.
Some friends find it easy to cut back,
Yeah.
while others struggle.
Right.
So those who easily meet their goals can sell their extra candy allowance
Okay.
to those who are having a harder time.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
It's a way to reward good behavior and help everyone reach the overall goal.
So in the case of climate change, instead of candy, we're talking about carbon emissions, right?
Exactly. Countries that emit less carbon than their target can essentially sell those extra allowances to countries that are struggling to meet their targets.
Oh.
It's a market-based approach to incentivize emissions reductions and promote cleaner technologies.
Interesting. So India could potentially benefit from this system.
Absolutely.
They could earn carbon credits by exceeding their emissions reduction targets.
Right. India has set ambitious climate goals,
Right.
but it faces significant challenges
Yeah.
in balancing those goals with its development needs.
Right.
Remember, developing economies need access to energy and resources
Of course.
to grow and improve people's lives.
And reducing emissions can be expensive.
It can.
And developing countries often face the dilemma of choosing between economic growth and environmental protection.
It's a tough choice.
It is.
That's where carbon credits and international cooperation come in. By engaging in carbon markets and promoting technology transfer, India can both meet its climate goals
Right.
and support sustainable development. It's a win-win.
And of course, all of this ties back to the UPSC syllabus with themes like environment and international relations
Front and center.
taking center stage.
Yeah.
It's incredible how a topic like climate change can connect so many different dots.
It really does. And it highlights India's increasingly important role on the global stage,
Yeah.
not just in terms of its own development,
Right.
but also as a leader in tackling global challenges.
Now let's circle back to Indian politics for a moment.
Okay.
We've already touched on the crisis in Manipur
Yeah.
and the powers of the governor,
Right.
but let's delve a bit deeper into that governor's role.
Ah, yes. The governor, often seen as a ceremonial figurehead,
Right.
but holding crucial powers.
Yeah.
Especially during times of political uncertainty, as we're seeing in Manipur.
Right.
They are appointed by the central government,
Right.
but they act as the representative of the president at the state level.
It's like they have this secret identity, this powerful side that only emerges when the going gets tough.
That's a great way to put it. And their powers are clearly defined in Article 174 of the Indian Constitution.
Okay.
We already talked about their ability to summon, prorogue, and dissolve the state legislature.
Can you remind us what those terms mean again?
Of course.
Just to be sure we're all on the same page.
Summoning the legislature is like sending out a call to action,
Okay.
getting them back in session.
Right.
Proroguing is hitting the pause button on that session, putting things on hold.
Okay.
And dissolving is like hitting the reset button altogether,
Right.
leading to new elections.
So the governor has control over when the legislature meets and for how long.
They do.
But I imagine there are some limits to their power, right?
You're absolutely right.
They can't just do whatever they want.
These powers are not absolute.
Okay.
There are checks and balances in place
Yeah.
to ensure they're used judiciously and in accordance with the spirit of the Constitution.
So there are rules to the game, so to speak.
Precisely. And there have been some landmark legal cases and reports by expert commissions that have further clarified the scope and limitations of the governor's powers.
So, for example.
For example, the S.R. Bomai case from 1994 established some important guidelines.
Okay.
And commissions like the Sarkaria and Punchy commissions have provided further insights and recommendations.
All of this is essential knowledge for anyone tackling the polity section of the UPSC exam, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Understanding the nuances of the governor's role is key to grasping the complexities of Indian federalism, which is a major topic in the UPSC syllabus.
Now let's shift gears to a question that's been making headlines lately.
Okay.
What happens when a major source of aid, like USAID, suddenly freezes its funding?
It's a significant development with potentially far-reaching consequences, particularly for countries that rely heavily on such aid. It can create a ripple effect throughout the world, impacting everything from healthcare to education to infrastructure.
It's like a crucial lifeline suddenly being cut off.
It is.
It's bound to have a significant impact on those who depend on it.
The impact could be felt across various sectors, disrupting healthcare education, infrastructure development, and humanitarian efforts. Think of it like a chain reaction where one disruption leads to another.
So it's not just about the money itself.
No, it's not.
It's about the disruption to essential services and programs that are often supporting the most vulnerable populations.
Exactly, and it raises important questions about aid dependency.
Okay.
Should countries be so reliant on external funding? Or should they focus on building their own capacity and diversifying their sources of income?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It is.
It makes you think about the role of developed countries in supporting developing nations. And the balance between providing aid and fostering self-sufficiency.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
And it ties directly into the UPSC syllabus's focus on international relations and global development. It's a topic that encourages us to think critically about the dynamics of the global economy and the challenges faced by developing nations.
Now let's lighten things up a bit.
Okay.
We've been discussing some pretty heavy topics.
We have.
So let's switch gears and talk about something a little more fun.
Sounds good.
Have you noticed how many service-based companies are branching out into product development these days?
It's a fascinating trend, isn't it?
It is.
It seems like every company that started out offering a service is now trying to create their own line of products.
It's like that saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself.
Right.
But in this case, it's more like, if you want to control your destiny, expand your horizons.
Exactly. These companies are realizing they can leverage their existing brand customer base and expertise to create products that complement their services.
Can you give us a concrete example of this trend in action?
Sure.
Something that really illustrates the point.
Imagine a popular food delivery app.
Okay.
One that's become a household name.
Right.
They've already mastered the logistics of delivery. They have tons of customer data, and they've built a strong brand.
Right.
Now imagine that same app launching their own line of kitchen appliances, blenders, mixers, maybe even smart ovens.
Wow.
It's a natural extension of their core business, and it opens up a whole new market for them.
That's a really smart move.
It is.
They're tapping into a whole new revenue stream while staying true to their core expertise.
Exactly. And there are multiple reasons driving this trend.
Okay, what are they?
First, it's about diversification.
Okay.
By expanding into products, these companies are spreading their risk and creating new revenue streams.
That makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as they say.
Right. Second, it's about controlling the supply chain.
Okay.
By manufacturing their own products, these companies can ensure quality managed costs.
Yeah.
And even respond to market demands more efficiently.
So it's about vertical integration.
Yeah.
Having a hand in every stage of the process, from concept to consumer.
Exactly. And finally, it's about capitalizing on their existing brand and customer loyalty.
Right.
They've already built trust and familiarity with their customers through their services. Now they're leveraging that to introduce products that seamlessly integrate into their customers' lives.
That's a brilliant strategy.
It is.
And it reflects the evolving landscape of entrepreneurship in India.
And it's a topic that aligns perfectly with the UPSC syllabus,
Right.
particularly the sections on economy innovation and the evolving nature of entrepreneurship.
Speaking of evolving landscapes, let's talk about the world of online content creation.
The world of online content creation.
It's a space that's exploding with creativity influence and, of course, a bit of chaos.
A lot of chaos.
We've seen the rise of influencers, YouTubers, bloggers, and podcasters.
Yeah.
It's a whole new media ecosystem.
It really is. And in an attempt to bring some order to this digital Wild West,
Right.
we're seeing the emergence of organizations like the Bharatiya Influencers Association.
Oh, wow.
It's like they're creating a guild for the digital age.
It's fascinating how this new media landscape is taking shape.
It is.
It's like watching a whole new industry being built right before our eyes.
Yeah.
But with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. And that's where the need for ethical guidelines and a sense of accountability comes in.
Right.
The internet can be a powerful tool for good, but it can also be used to spread misinformation, hate speech, and harmful content.
Right. We need to make sure that this powerful platform is used responsibly and ethically,
Yeah.
that it contributes to a healthy and informed public discourse.
Right.
But who gets to decide what's responsible and ethical?
Right.
That seems like a slippery slope.
You're raising a very important point. It's a complex issue, and there are no easy answers.
Right.
But having organizations like the Bharatiya Influencers Association is a step in the right direction.
Okay.
They can work to establish industry standards, promote ethical practices, and provide guidance to content creators.
So it's about creating a framework, a set of guidelines that can help navigate the complexities of this new media landscape.
Precisely, and it's a topic that's directly relevant to the UPSC syllabus,
Right.
particularly the sections on society culture and the evolving media landscape.
It prompts us to think critically about the impact of online content on our lives, our values, and our democracy.
Absolutely.
It's not just about entertainment anymore.
No.
It's about how we consume information, form opinions, and engage with the world around us.
And it's a topic that will only become more important as the digital world continues to evolve.
And on that note, we'll wrap up part 1 of our deep dive. Be sure to stay tuned for part 2,
Yes, part 2.
where we'll delve into even more fascinating current affairs.
Welcome back to part 2 of our deep dive into current affairs.
We've already covered a lot of ground, from the political scene in Manipur to the exciting world of AI and semiconductor chips.
Right, we have.
But we're not done yet.
Not even close.
There's still so much to explore, and I'm especially curious about this next topic.
Okay.
It seems like lately there's been a lot of discussion about legal remedies for survivors of trauma, but also concerns about the legal system potentially causing further harm.
Yeah.
It's a sensitive topic, but it feels really important to discuss.
Absolutely. It is a sensitive and complex issue.
It is.
The legal system is meant to provide justice and support for survivors,
Right.
but the process itself can sometimes be re-traumatizing, especially in cases of violence or abuse.
It's like adding insult to injury.
Yes.
You're already going through something incredibly difficult, and then the process of seeking justice adds another layer of stress and trauma.
Exactly. That's why there's a growing movement to advocate for a more sensitive and trauma-informed approach within the legal system. It's about recognizing the unique needs of survivors and ensuring that the process is as supportive and empowering as possible.
So it's not just about punishing the perpetrator.
No.
It's also about supporting the survivor and ensuring their well-being throughout the entire process.
Precisely. This means things like providing specialized support services,
Okay.
creating a safe and welcoming environment within courtrooms, and training legal professionals to be more sensitive to the needs of trauma survivors.
Right.
It's about shifting the focus from simply winning a case to truly supporting the healing and recovery of the survivor.
This feels like a really important conversation to be having, especially for those aspiring to join the civil services.
Yeah.
How does this all connect to the UPSC syllabus?
This topic ties directly into the UPSC syllabus's focus on social justice.
Okay.
It challenges us to think critically about how the justice system can better serve the needs of all citizens, especially those who are most vulnerable.
Right.
It's about understanding the complexities of trauma and advocating for a more compassionate and effective justice system.
It's a reminder that true justice goes beyond simply enforcing laws. It's about creating a system that is truly equitable and supportive for everyone. Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to a topic we touched on earlier, the potential freeze on USAID funding.
Oh, right.
USA.
You mentioned that it could have ripple effects across the world,
It could.
but I'm curious to understand those impacts more concretely.
Okay, well, to understand the impact, let's consider a hypothetical scenario.
Okay.
Imagine a country in Africa that relies heavily on USAID funding for its healthcare system.
Right.
Suddenly, that funding is frozen.
Okay.
This could lead to a shortage of essential medicines, disruptions in vaccination programs, and even the closure of clinics and hospitals.
Wow. So the impact is immediate and potentially life-threatening for many people.
It can be.
Wow.
And it's not just healthcare.
Right.
USAID funding also supports education, agriculture, infrastructure development, and humanitarian relief efforts.
Yeah.
A freeze in funding could mean children being forced out of school,
Oh, wow.
farmers struggling to produce food, and communities lacking access to clean water and sanitation.
It's like a domino effect where one disruption triggers a cascade of negative consequences. Exactly. And this situation also raises questions about the role of foreign aid in international development.
Okay.
Is it a sustainable solution?
Right.
Or does it create a cycle of dependency?
Right.
Should countries focus more on building their own capacity and becoming self-reliant?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It is.
On one hand, foreign aid can be crucial in providing immediate relief and support during times of crisis.
Yes.
On the other hand, it's important for countries to develop their own economies and become less reliant on external funding in the long run.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance, and this entire conversation ties directly back to the UPSC syllabus.
Okay.
It challenges us to think critically about the complexities of international relations, global development, and the role of organizations like USAID in shaping global dynamics.
It's fascinating how these seemingly isolated events connect to bigger global trends and force us to grapple with complex questions. Speaking of global trends, let's talk about something that's been making waves in the business world: the rise of service innovators venturing into product development.
It's an interesting development, isn't it?
It is.
Companies that built their success on providing services are now trying their hand at creating products.
Yeah.
It seems like every day there's a new announcement, a ride-hailing company launching its own line of electric scooters,
Yeah.
a streaming service creating its own branded merchandise.
Right.
Or even, as we talked about earlier, a food delivery app designing its own kitchen appliances.
It's a curious trend for sure. What's driving this shift? Why are so many service-based companies jumping into the world of products?
There are several factors at play.
Okay.
First, it's about diversification.
Okay.
By expanding into products, companies are spreading their risk and creating new revenue streams. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket, so to speak.
That makes sense. It's like hedging your bets. If one part of the business isn't doing so well, the other parts can pick up the slack.
Exactly. Second, it's about controlling the supply chain.
Okay.
By manufacturing their own products, companies can ensure quality, manage costs, and even respond to market demands more efficiently.
Right.
They're not relying on third-party manufacturers or suppliers,
Yeah.
so they have more control over the entire process.
It's about vertical integration, having a hand in every stage of the process from concept to consumer.
Right. And finally, it's about capitalizing on their existing brand and customer loyalty.
Okay.
These companies have already built trust and familiarity with their customers through their services. Now they're leveraging that to introduce products that seamlessly integrate into their customers' lives.
It's a brilliant strategy.
It is.
And it's shaking up the business landscape in India, creating new opportunities and challenges. for both established companies and startups.
Absolutely. And this entire trend aligns perfectly with the UPSC syllabus, particularly the sections on economy innovation and the evolving nature of entrepreneurship in India.
It's fascinating to see how these seemingly disparate events and trends all connect back to the UPSC syllabus in some way. It really highlights how important it is to stay informed about current affairs, not just for the exam, but for understanding the world around us.
You're absolutely right. It's about connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture, and understanding how these events shape our lives and our future.
And on that note, we'll wrap up part 2 of our deep dive.
Right.
Be sure to join us for part 3, where we'll explore even more intriguing topics and insights. Welcome back to part 3 of our deep dive into current affairs. We've journeyed from the political landscape of Manipur to the global implications of a potential USAID funding freeze, and even explored the fascinating world of service innovators turned product developers.
Right.
But we've saved something special for last, a topic that blends wit, social commentary, and a dash of philosophy.
It's amazing how even a simple quote can spark such a thought-provoking conversation.
It really is.
And the one we're about to discuss is a perfect example of that.
The quote we're looking at today is, "Comedy is just tragedy plus time, but vulgar comedy is tragedy minus taste." It's a line that makes you chuckle at first, but then you realize there's a lot more to unpack here.
It's like a layered cake, with each layer revealing a new flavor or texture. On the surface, it's a witty observation about the nature of humor.
Right.
But as you delve deeper, it touches upon themes of social responsibility, empathy, and the power of language.
Okay, let's break it down. First, the idea that comedy is just tragedy plus time. What do you think the author is trying to convey here?
Well, it speaks to the human capacity for resilience and our ability to find humor even in the face of adversity. Time has a way of softening the sharp edges of pain, allowing us to look back on difficult experiences with a different perspective.
It's like that old saying, laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah.
Sometimes a bit of humor can help us cope with tragedy and find a glimmer of light in dark times.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always a potential for healing and growth. And sometimes humor can be a catalyst for that process. But then the quote takes a turn, adding that vulgar comedy is tragedy minus taste. This is where things get a bit more complex.
Right, because now we're talking about the limits of humor. The line between what's funny and what's offensive or harmful.
Precisely. Vulgar comedy, as the quote suggests, can trivialize tragedy, exploit people's pain, and even perpetuate harmful stereotypes. It's about using humor irresponsibly without considering the potential consequences or the impact on others.
It's like there's a fine line between using humor to make light of a situation and using it to mock or belittle those who have suffered. And finding that line requires empathy, awareness, and, as the quote suggests, good taste.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about understanding the power of language and the responsibility that comes with wielding that power. Humor can be a powerful tool for social commentary and even social change.
Right.
But it needs to be used thoughtfully and with sensitivity.
So it's not just about being funny. It's about being mindful of the impact our words can have on others.
Exactly. And it's a topic that's relevant to the UPSC syllabus, not in a specific subject area, but in the broader sense of understanding societal values, ethical dilemmas, and the complexities of human interaction.
And with that thought-provoking quote, we've reached the end of our deep dive into current affairs. We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring a wide range of topics, from the political to the technological to the philosophical.
It has been quite a journey.
It has been.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights along the way.
Remember, staying informed is a continuous process. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep connecting the dots between the events shaping our world.
Absolutely.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to PodX Studio for more thought-provoking discussions on current affairs. We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay tuned.